Hi, it's your favourite Atomic Blonde here with my nerdy weekly roundup. Happy New Year, everybody. It's 2023, and what a better way to kick off 2023 than with one of my roundups. So, Chin. I still have the tiniest bit of this blooming cough, so apologies if there's a bit of all the way through. But I'm going to persevere because, I'm just so bored of this flu. Anywho, so just a couple of things to cover this week. The first one being Alice in Borderland. So this first came out a couple of years ago on Netflix. It's Japanese. And it's one of those ones actually I watched. It came out before Squid Game, and I'd watched I watched Borderland. So when I saw the trailers for Squid Game, I thought this is going to be right up my alley. So it probably will draw a few comparisons, but this did predate Squid Game. As I say, it's Japanese, it's not Korean. And the whole premise of this was just so intriguing. So I was very excited when season 2 dropped 22nd December. It nearly made my roundup of 2022, but I hadn't actually finished the series. And as it's one of these little bit of a mystery box type shows, I absolutely wanted to see the ending before I recommended it, because if it didn't nail the landing, annoying. And also, I just didn't want to recommend it if it was just like, ending. So the fact that I'm talking about it does mean that actually it had a really great ending. I was like quite chuffed with it. There's lots of twists and turns, and there's lots of it's this, and they're like, no, that's a lie, and then we finally get to what the truth is. I'm not going to say what the ending is in case you haven't watched it, because it is one of those ones that you just keep going with it because you want to know the answer to this riddle that's been going on. So I won't spoil it for you. But the premise of the show, there's only 2 seasons. So the first one I think was back in like 2019 maybe, or 2020. And I think it's one of those ones I got into like the rest of the world over COVID, under house arrest, as we all were, and just stumbled across this thing. So there's three young Japanese lads, sort of late teens, early 20s, and they're all sort of a bit drifting through life. One of them, is very smart, could aspire to more, but all he does is sit in his bedroom and play computer games, much to his dad's infuriation. They've lost their mum, and this is part of the reason why he's a little bit sort of drifting and a bit lost. One of his friends runs a bar, or works in a bar. So they've gone out in Tokyo in the day, and they're all larking about, and it's that quite famous bit in Tokyo where you've got the zebra crossings, and then they're mucking about on the road, and that causes an accident. Well, it causes an accident, and the police are there, and they chase after them. And they run into like the shopping centre, and or the guys going the subway, and they run into the toilets to hide. And then the lights kind of flash on, off and on. And then when they come back out, Tokyo's completely deserted. There's like nobody there. So first of all, you're like, where did everybody go? And then they start sort of exploring, and then they find out that they're involved in these games. And each game is a playing card. And each playing card, the higher the number, the more the difficulty, and the suits mean different things. So one's like I think spades is like a physical one, whereas like diamonds or hearts is like more mental. A bit like Crystal Maze, but extreme, because you die in these games. So they soon get to grips with the world that they're in. And they sort of obviously meet people and team up, because some of the games involve you like teaming up and having trust, and you sort of build some friendships, and obviously people die along the way. And we're kind of left with the sort of cliffhanger at the end of season 1 that they'd completed all the games for the numbered cards, and that just left the face cards, and obviously that kicks it up a level. So in each of these, then they're playing like the Jack, Queen, King of each of the suits. And basically, if they can get through all these suits, they're like, well, maybe we can get home, we can get back to our world. So, and what we see is it's like in season 2 that Japan is now sort of quite overgrown, like almost dystopian, like, you know, something's happened, it's like hundreds and hundreds of years in the future or something like that. It's trees, everything's overgrown, and just derelict cars and everything everywhere. And they continue to obviously progress through these games. Some of them make it, some of them don't. I won't tell you who. But with all these Asian shows, whether it's like Japanese or Korean, you can sort of never really bank on who's going to make it and who's not, because you have some lead characters and they often get taken out. And just something, you know, we used to be quite, you know, I think we were brave enough to do Walking Dead for a while, but it soon sort of moved away from that. And this is why these Asian shows, I think, really hold your attention, because you know anybody could go at any time. It is violent, it is bloody. So if you don't like that sort of thing, not for you. But if you do like, you know, your Asian programs, films, you know, specifically like obviously like Squid Game and some of the other ones that we've had, I highly recommend this. It's very well written. The characters are superb. There's one, you know, that you know, you can look at it and go, you know, there's disabled characters, there's trans characters. Obviously everybody's Asian. I don't think there's anybody Western in it, or like, from memory, I think it's all pretty much Asian. But they just are. They're just there, and there's legitimate reasons why you know, someone's disabled, that actually got injured in the games. But it's not constantly playing on it or talking about it, or they're more special than anybody else. They just are. And they explain the backstory of the trans character, and it's really sad, really heartbreaking actually. And I won't say who it is, because I don't think you'd guess from seeing the actors involved. And again, it's part of the thing that unravels and you find out, and it's a really, really good storyline. And this person's like proper 3-dimensional. They're not perfect, they're flawed, they're just a normal human being, and it's just so refreshing to watch that. So, you know, some people will go, oh, I'm not watching that but none of that nonsense is in there. It actually sort of fits to the storyline, and it's just done really, really well and very engaging. And you know, you root for this character. You really do. You root for most of the characters. I mean, some people in there are violent psychopaths, and obviously you don't root for them. But it's just done so much better than anything in the West, and especially coming out of like Hollywood. You have to like put these people on pedestals or treat them like they're superhuman beings and they're just perfection and all this kind of nonsense. These people just included because these people exist, right? So, and it's just done fantastically. There's nothing about the politics of that. It just so happens this character is, and the backstory is fantastic. So yeah, I was really excited when season 2 dropped. Say it did come out on the 22nd of December, so didn't quite get to see it all, but I've now seen the last episode and it's done so well, really well. I was really happy with the ending. It's quite, I don't want to give any spoilers, but it ties everything up. It makes sense. All the characters have an ending. You know what happens to all the characters that you know been following. There wasn't at any point you go, well, hang on, what happened to such and such, or I don't get that, or there's a major plot hole, or whatever. You know, they actually follow their own story and they follow their own canon, which is really refreshing as well. And you do, and I mean, I hate the term, but you do really see the characters go on a journey, like physically and emotionally. Like the people that, you know, went into the game aren't the people that came out of the game. And, you know, they change in realistic ways as well. You know, they don't overnight suddenly become amazingly wonderful people. But, you know, when you're fighting for your life for, you know, we don't really know how long they've been in the game, but to get through everything, it's got to be like months, if not maybe a year. Could even be longer. You know, and that constant fighting for your life is going to change you. And forming alliances with people, and people betraying you, or people you thought who would betray you don't, you know, it's going to have a profound effect on you. So, excuse me. Oh. So yeah, I really enjoyed this show. I'm so happy that the ending made sense. I guess the ending may not be for everybody, but I loved it, and I loved how they kept you guessing and going, this is why, this is why, this is why, this is why, and every time it's just so good. But yeah, really believable, fun to watch, say incredibly violent and gory, but fantastic. I loved every minute of this show, and even though I know the ending now, I could still go back and rewatch it and enjoy it again, even though I know the ending. So that's a sign of a really good show as well. So yeah, do go check out Alice in Borderland. It's on Netflix. As I said, dropped on the 22nd of December. Both seasons, there are only 2 seasons to get through. I think season 2 was 8 episodes. I can't remember. I think the first season might have had more episodes. And again, I think this is something that Asia does really well. Like, some of these things are done in 1 season, normally about 16 episodes or 2 seasons. And that's enough to tell the story. And they just leave it there. Whereas I think one of the problems we have, certainly in America, that everything has to be like at least 5 seasons when it doesn't need to be 5 seasons. If you can do something in 2 or 3 seasons, write it that way. But, it's very, very common that they don't tend to these shows don't go on for seasons and seasons and seasons. Certainly the live action stuff, I know the anime, obviously because it's based on the mangas and stuff, they do run a long time. But their live action stuff tends to be 1 or 2 seasons maximum. So again, with Squid Game season 2 coming out, I hope that's the final season and they don't try and drag it out too much. I'm already a bit nervous about what we're going to get in season 2 on that one, because the first season was just so good. It's going to be hard to top. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. So the second thing I wanted to talk about, again, another Asian show. It's very reflective of what's on our TV right now, is The Glory. I've only seen the first episode. I think it dropped yesterday on Netflix, maybe the day before. This is Korean. And it's it starts with a character. Let me just get the name. It is an Asian name and I don't want to get it wrong. Moon Dong-eun is the name of the character. And she's, I think it's sort of 2006 it starts, and obviously she's at school, she's a young girl. And I said the first episode was quite disturbing to watch. And I'm not easily shocked or, bothered by violence per se. Not real violence, artificial violence. And it does seem to be a bit of a theme that's in quite a lot of Korean shows. So I'm assuming that it's quite a big problem in Korea of like bullying. And I don't just mean like name calling or online texting. I mean, it seems quite horrific. I think it's quite hierarchical in South Korea from the TV shows that I've seen. And the worst thing you can possibly be is poor. And this poor girl, she's living in a motel. Her mother's away working somewhere, and she's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And she's pretty much left to fend for herself. And the rich kids in school know this. And it's like a gang of about 6 of them who just relentlessly pick on this girl just because she's poor and they're rich. And the sort of the ringleader, her mother's very wealthy, quite influential. And there's a line that she says, and because the girl asks her, like, why do you keep doing this to me? What have I done? And she's just like, because I can get away with it. I can literally do anything to anyone and nothing's going to happen to me. And she's getting a kick out of it. She gets a kick out of this power trip that she's got, because she just knows there's no repercussions whatsoever. And the girl was quite brave and tried to report it to the school. and the school didn't want to know because she wanted to leave the school because of the bullying and the violence, and this actually sort of affects their statistics in Korea if like kids drop out or leave. And the result of her being brave and going to like the sort of the principal, he basically starts beating her up in front of the other teachers, and he's slapping the crap out of this poor girl. And you do see other teachers like getting hold of him and saying, look, stop, that's enough. I mean, I don't know what the rules are in Korea, but geez. And there's some really horrific scenes that this poor girl, so basically these rich kids don't seem to go to classes much, but they're just hanging out in the sort of the gym or assembly hall, and they're there and they plug in their curling tongs, and they basically use these tongs on this poor girl and horrifically burn her arm. And then one of the other guys sort of sexually assaults her because you think it's funny. Then she sort of goes home to try and get away from it, and they're waiting for her in her hotel room. And we don't see what happens, but you just hear screaming coming from this hotel. And then afterwards, she goes out in the snow, and she is just burnt everywhere from these curling tongs on her shoulders, her arms, her legs. She's bleeding, she's been beaten up, and probably worse. And at this point, she then gets thrown out of school. Well, basically, the rich parent buys off her mum with a million, whatever the currency is. And the mum basically takes the money, checks out the hotel, and just abandons the girl. So the girl's had this horrific, traumatic, violent experience, and her mum's just left her to fend for herself. So obviously the premise of this show is revenge. And at sort of the end of episode 1, I think we kind of jumped to about 2012. So basically she's got herself a job. While she's working, she's educating herself online, getting her GED, and manages to get herself into college to set herself up into a position that she can take revenge on these guys. And it's quite an interesting, she's gone through something so terrible, and nobody's helped her. Not a single. I mean, there was a nurse who sort of said, look, I'll come with you and help you, but pretty much every single adult turned their back on her. Basically told her that, she's worthless because, they haven't got any money, she's not going to amount to anything. And it really didn't matter if she was getting hit because, she's nothing. So there's that kind of the dynamic, or the premise it's kind of set in, is that, she's got, despite everything, she's getting herself an education, she's got herself into college. Do you just move on? And the best way to get revenge is to be happy and to be successful. And, that she done all this to spite, in spite of them, or does she take physical revenge? And kind of at the end of episode 1, she's opting for revenge. So I really, despite actually, the quite disturbing watch, it's actually very intriguing. And I think in some ways it's good that they haven't really sort of shied away from the violence in some ways, to show how bad it is and how bad bullying is, because at the point where she nearly kills herself, understandably, but then doesn't. And again, she kind of gets this, I'm going to sort of live to spite them, really, which is good. So I'm quite interested to see how it unfolds, whether she does get revenge, or does she change her mind, or how far is she prepared to go to get revenge? And when we say revenge, is that literally killing them, or just making them lose their money or status or looks? I mean, what does she define as revenge? And given the trauma she's been through, I think it could be quite bad. But I did enjoy the first episodes. Like I say, I'm really intrigued to see where it's going to go and what shape this revenge takes, and if she does go through with it, or actually just being alive and happy and successful, is that enough, the only revenge that she actually needs? Don't know. We'll have to see. So I'm going to crack on with The Glory and let you know how that starts unraveling or proceeding. Hopefully, yeah, it maintains the good level of storytelling we've seen in the first episode, and say setting up these characters and the motivations and all that kind of thing. So fingers crossed, we've got another good one out of Korea. We'll have to see. So that was it. That was really what I wanted to talk about. Was Alice in Borderland, The Glory. Not much else been released just yet. I mean, obviously January 1st, I'm sure in January we'll start getting some new shows dropping, and obviously I talked a bit about what's coming up in 2023. I've only had 2 sips. You know what we can look forward to. We're still obviously waiting to hear, is The Orville going to get blooming renewed for season 4? Can't believe Disney is still sitting on the fence with this one. I don't know if it's Disney or Seth who's delaying, maybe he wants more control than they're prepared to give, or I don't know. But given how Disney is just one massive dumpster fire right now, you'd think they'd be clamoring to renew the shows that people actually watch and enjoy, unlike the trash that we've had with She-Hulk and National Treasure and all those other appalling shows. So as ever, I mean, who knows whatever Disney's thinking. I mean, throw a 6 to start, but those guys are absolutely useless. So so fingers crossed we do get an announcement on Orville season 4. There's another show I forgot to put in my roundup of 2022. And I'm like, oh my God, it's one of my favorite shows of 2022. But again, you kind of forget what comes out what year, and and it came out in May, I think, or June. Gosh, I can't even remember. This seems such a long time back, and especially having a channel, you talk about so much stuff. You kind of forget. So literally, I uploaded it all, and then suddenly went, oh my God, I didn't talk about the Orville. I can't believe it. So I might just have to do a separate stream just gushing about the Orville and getting people to watch that on Disney. So hopefully, I think it's on Hulu in America, Disney over here, to try and get this fantastic show renewed. It's some really, really good TV. Again, very well written. Oh God, the amount of times that show made me cry this season and laugh in Courage is just amazing. I think a lot of people don't agree necessarily with Seth's politics. I don't profess to really know a lot about it, but I'm sure there's some things I don't agree, but I can park it. He wrote a really good show. It wasn't woke. It was just fun, entertaining, and heartbreaking. It was just a fantastic show. I mean, in one way, they ended it that if we don't get another season, it can finish there. It's sort of kind of complete, but there's a few threads that didn't get completely wrapped up. But obviously I'd love a season 4 or a season 5. We still just have to wait and see what stupid brain dead Disney decide to do. Unbelievable. Again, I think we're still waiting on has Cobra Kai been renewed? There's all these great shows that people actually watch, and they're just sitting on the fence with it, whether it's Netflix, Amazon. Again, I don't think we've heard whether we're definitely a season 2 Terminal List. I really hope there is. Like I say, I think it's 5 books that can be made. This was in the top 10 of their shows all year. These services are just absolutely bonkers. They just keep churning out nonsense that none of us want to watch, and the things we do want to watch, they cancel. They almost do it out of spite to go, oh, you like this, do you? Okay, well, we're going to get rid of it then. You've got a bunch of children running these networks and streaming services, unfortunately. But anywho, let's try and stay positive. I'm sure there'll be a couple of good things dropping in 2023. I think we'll get more rubbish than we'll get good, because obviously things dropping in 2023 were probably filmed this year or last year, and now only just coming out. So it's going to take a couple of years for us to start seeing any real changes, wholesale changes on our films and TV programs. If they are going to change, we'll have to wait and see. But as the the dire box office, the, you know, people leaving Netflix in droves, people leaving Disney Plus in droves. People aren't going to spend money they don't have on shit they don't want to watch. So, you know, it's fine having these channels sitting in the background when you've got spare cash, and if you watch it occasionally, it's there if you want it. When money's tight, these things are the first things to go, and if it's not something that you watch on a daily basis, yeah, it's out. So let's hope all these people take heed, start listening to what the customer wants. Let's see. But fingers crossed for 2023 and it being a good year for TV, films. There's plenty for us to chat about on YouTube and hear your opinions. Let me know in the comments if you've watched either of these shows and what you think of The Glory and what you think of Alice in Borderland. If there's any upcoming shows you want me to review, let me know. Always happy to oblige, as long as it's not too bad. I mean, hey, I've done She-Hulk for you, so, you know. Anyway, I hope you all have a fabulous New Year's Day and a very happy, healthy 2023. I'll be back next week with my weekly roundup with where I've got to with The Glory. Might have finished it all, might not. Let's see how it goes. But anyway, do like, share, subscribe. It absolutely helps. And leave me any comments. So you take care. Enjoy the remaining bank holiday. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.